Good evening, everybody. I have been christened by the press as India's first and only woman commando trainer. I have this unusual vocation of training commandos. So today I'm going to speak about my journey for the past 20 years. I'm going to speak about what motivated me. I'm going to speak about the obstacles that came in my path. And I'm going to be speaking about what my attitude and philosophy has been in overcoming these obstacles. So I'll first talk about the first slide, which says, from weakness to strength. I was born in a freedom fighter's family. My father was a freedom fighter. And as a child, I would hear stories about his participation in the freedom struggle. There was one particular story which impressed me a lot. And this was when he escaped from the prison with a fellow inmate, and he swam across the Mandavi River. When I would hear these stories, I would think that if life gave me an opportunity, I too would want to do something for the country. Well, I grew up as a studious kid, and I was about 16 years old when I met my knight in shining armor. He was this young, hot-blooded medical student, and sparks flew. We fell in love, and we decided to get married early. Now, he was also into martial art. So that's when I decided, I would see people around him, people go up to him, and he was powerful, he was strong. He is powerful and he is strong. And he happens to be, the fifth Indian since independence to receive the President Rank Award. So, going back to the story, he was into martial art, and that's where I thought that I should also learn martial art. I was bullied as a child, so I wanted that equation to change. So I started learning martial art for him, and it was about a year that I had learned the art. We used to go in the morning to train at the beach. Our house was close to the beach, and every morning we would go to train there. So one day while we were training, there were this group of street urchins who were rack pickers who were passing by, 3 guys. And they looked down and they said, they passed some lewd remarks and some comments, demeaning stuff. Now, we didn't want to disturb our training, so we let it go. Once the training was over, we started walking back. As we were walking back, they were standing there at a distance, the 3 of them. So my husband said, okay, it's your fight, just go ahead. And before I could protest, he just vanished. I wanted to get over with this, so I said, okay, let me get over with this. And whatever they say, just let me turn a deaf ear to the whole thing. And I walked. They were standing over there, the 3 of them. So I had my head down and I was walking quickly. My heart was thudding. And suddenly, one of the guys came and stood in front of me. So I moved left. He came this side, stood in front of me. I moved right. He came in and stood in front of me. I was looking down. My heart was thudding. I was very scared. Suddenly, I looked up at his face. I don't know what came over me. I lifted my hand and gave him one hard slap. He reeled back with the slap. He was angry and he rushed at me. As he rushed at me, I lifted my knee up into his head and he got a hard shot on his head. Meanwhile, from the right, the other guy opened up a knife and came and slashed it in front of me. Thanks to my reflexes, I just ducked out of it. And of course, then there was a crowd who accumulated over there. Now, that was the first time when I felt that things were different. I had changed my position of being controlled to a person who now was in control. So it was a transition from weakness to strength. From high jump to skydiving. Okay, we used to go to this small, beach, back at the beach, and there was a small patch of sand which was about 15 feet deep. We would go there every day in the morning and train there. And one day what happened is my husband's mobile just slipped out of his hand and it fell onto the sand. So he jumped down 15 feet. He was playing with his mobile and suddenly he said, "Come on, Sam, jump. It's nice here, come down." I looked down, it was 15 feet. I said, "No way, I'm not doing this." In my mind, there were opposites. One part of my mind said, "Come on, you can do it. If he can do it, why can't you do it?" The other part of my mind said, "If you jump, you're going to break your ankle, your knees, so don't jump." I just blanked out my mind. I jumped. Years later, I got the opportunity to earn my para wings. I jumped from 10,000 feet and leaped out into the skies and earned my para wings. We were members of a shooting club, a sports club nearby, and we were good shots, we were crack shots. So, like they say, intense desire creates its own opportunities. So there was a chance meeting with a senior police official, and he saw our skills in unarmed combat as well as shooting, and he invited us over to his unit. We gave demonstrations. We started getting invited by various other, forces to give demos, and later on to also train the force. So there was one force where we were, training the force, and one day, it was an afternoon, it was a sunny afternoon, and we were sitting at the range. The firing was over, and the participants, the trainees, had gone off. And while we were sitting there, there was a bowl of apples kept in front of us, so we were just chewing on the apples and talking. So suddenly my husband lifted the apple, placed it on his head, and he said, "Okay, now shoot." So I said, "Come on, you're kidding, I know that." So he says, "I'm not kidding, you're a shooting instructor, so why are you hesitating? Just shoot." I lifted the weapon with trembling hands. I steadied my hands, looked at the foresight, the hindsight, and the apple, and I pressed the trigger. The apple just split into a million pieces. Then I got confident. I said, "Hold the apple again on your head." And this time, with one swift movement, I shot at the apple. So these were the origins of the reflex shooting method, which we developed for the forces. There's a small video here. That's my husband standing next to the target. And as you see, I don't miss. Okay, I started my martial art first with getting a black belt in Taekwondo, and then later on I did some boxing, as well as I did some wrestling. But I was not very satisfied with all of this, so I happened to come across Bruce Lee's art of Jeet Kune Do. There was a teacher who was teaching that from another country, so I wrote to him. He said, "Okay, you can come." So whenever he would come to nearby countries, I would go and I would train under him. One day, he called me aside and he said, "Look, I have to certify you as an instructor, so I need to intensively train you. So you need to come to my country and get trained." So I said, okay. I was very excited. So I collected my money and I applied for my visa. The officer sitting at the visa counter saw my papers and he said, "Lady, give me 5 reasons why you won't leave your country and come and settle in mine." Well, I guess they ask this question to everybody, part of their protocols. But my patriotic sentiments were hurt. So I looked at him and said, you give me one reason why I would want to settle in your country and leave mine. Of course, the visa was denied. But I didn't lose hope. I spoke to my teacher. I told him this is what happened. He was apologetic. He was very unhappy. So he said, you know what? I'll come to your country and I'll train you. He was here for many weeks. He trained me. And today, I am the highest ranking and the senior most female instructor in the art of Jeet Kune Do, which is Bruce Lee's art. I started training the forces with unarmed combat, then went on to armed combat. After that, I went on to shooting. Then it was team-on-team tactics. It was also, exercises, tactical exercises, which were done in jungles, in scorching deserts, in high altitude, late nights at around 3 o'clock at night. So this was the kind of stuff I did. And finally, of course, it was training the QRTs as well. So what I want to say is that you need to upgrade. You don't just stay where you are. My rendezvous with the camouflage. I started by training the police, then went on to training the armed police, the state reserve police, the paramilitary forces, then the army, the navy, the air force, the NSG, the special forces, and the QRTs of different states, and of course the core battle schools as well. So I wanted to train the elite forces, and I managed to do that. Express yourself. I wrote a book which had very radical ideas on close combat ops. I was unsure whether this book would be accepted, but I decided just let me express myself. I spent from my own pocket. I didn't have any sponsors, donations. I made the book and I gave it to the forces. They took about 6 months to analyze the book. So I was feeling very discouraged. But at the end of it, it was accepted. This book is found in the libraries of forces all over the country. I also sent this book to FBI, Interpol, and SWAT libraries all over the world. It was accepted, well received, and I was thanked for the book as well. Reality shooting to real shooting. Okay. Some friends of mine told me, why don't you participate in the Mrs. India World pageant? So I said, look, beauty is not my cup of tea. I'm an action woman, let me be there. They said, no, why not? Why not give it a shot? So I said, okay, theek hai. I went for it. They taught me how to walk, how to put makeup, and the usual stuff. I had a good time. And I was one of the 5 finalists in the Mrs. India World. Apart from that, recently, about 2 years back, I decided I wanted to make a movie. Well, now how did I get this bright idea? A leading filmmaker in Bombay approached me and told me that he wanted to make a movie on Bruce Lee's art of Jeet Kune Do. So we spoke, we had certain conditions, I had certain conditions, he had certain conditions, and we didn't get along, so we decided to split ways. Then I thought to myself, why don't I make the movie? So, of course, I didn't know anything about movie making, so I decided to learn the ropes. And eventually, I made the movie. I did the story, the dialogues, the music, the acting. I collected a few people who could act in the movie. They were all black belts. And, the DI and the editing, etc. I even sung in the movie. My husband, till day, he says, you have such a good voice. You hid that from me all these years. And I tell him, you know what? There's a lot more about me that you don't know. So you need to find out. Okay? My movie is a woman empowerment movie and based on the Mahabharata. And this movie, I sent it to the Dada Saheb Phalke Film Festival and it received the Jury Appreciation Award. Down but not out. I've had 2 very serious injuries in my life. One was a back injury and the other one was a head injury where I lost my memory. I was down, hospitalized for almost about 6 months, during which time I contemplated and I thought, do I want to continue with this or just let it be? I gave it a serious thought and I said, no, this is the one thing I'm going to do, no matter what. My sacrifices, well, the physical demands of my job were such that it was not possible to have my own biological child. My husband, I'm very grateful to him and he's very understanding that we sat together and discussed it once and he said, it's your wish, it's your call. So we decided against that. But to complete the family, I adopted a child and I adopted a girl child. Because I don't feel women are in any way inferior to a man. My father was ailing and he expired. That time I was on a trip. I was training the Kolkata police. I heard about the news. There were 2 more days left. I did not go back. My father was very proud of me and about the work that I was doing for the forces. And he always said, child, whatever you're doing is good, so keep it up. I have no regrets about this. But when I tell people this, they say, well, it is a sacrifice. There's this poem that I would like to just read out to you in the end. When all hope is lost, refuse to be cast down. For just one more round, bash on regardless. Believe in the impossible. Believe in a way out. Get used to seeing light in the darkness. Where all hope ends, let your battle begin there. Bash on regardless. Life is full of hurt and suffering. Don't let it deter you. Walk on to conquer new peaks. Bash on regardless. My message to you is just one thing. Obstacles will come in your path. Go over them, go around them, but reach your destination. Stretch your abilities. Think out of the box. Don't think traditional. It is great thinkers who thought non-traditional who have contributed to the world. And lastly, do what you have to do with the fullest of your ability. Thank you very much.